What kind of person writes stories where people wake up as insects, get trapped in impossible systems, and never understand why they're being punished? Franz Kafka spent much of his life feeling caught between worlds. A difficult relationship with his father, a job he didn't love, relationships he struggled to maintain, and a constant feeling that something about his life was fundamentally out of place. But perhaps the strangest part of Kafka's story is what happened after his death. He wanted almost everything he wrote to be destroyed. To understand Kafka, you have to understand his relationship with his father, Hermann Kafka. Hermann was physically imposing, confident, and demanding. Kafka, on the other hand, often described himself as physically and psychologically fragile in comparison. Their relationship left Kafka with a deep sense of inadequacy. In letter to his father, Kafka tried to confront the enormous influence his father had on his life. He described a relationship shaped by fear, guilt, and the feeling that he could never quite become the person his father expected him to be. And that feeling of being judged by an authority you cannot escape would later become one of the most recognizable elements of Kafka's fiction. During the day, Kafka worked at an insurance institution. His job was stable, respectable, and painfully ordinary. At night, he wrote, and the worlds he created couldn't have been further from the world of paperwork and bureaucracy. In his stories, ordinary people are suddenly trapped inside systems they don't understand. Rules exist, but nobody can explain them. Authorities have power, but the individual has no idea how to reach them. This is what eventually became known as Kafkaesque, a situation where a person becomes trapped inside an absurd, confusing, and seemingly impossible system. Have you ever felt trapped in a system you couldn't understand? Kafka had complicated relationships with intimacy and marriage. He became engaged more than once, but marriage also seemed to frighten him. One of the most fascinating relationships in his life was with Milena Jasenska. Their relationship was largely maintained through letters, and those letters reveal a Kafka who was intensely emotional, vulnerable, and deeply conflicted. He could crave closeness while simultaneously fearing what closeness might demand from him. Later, tuberculosis would severely affect his health. His physical condition deteriorated, and in the final years of his life, writing and illness became increasingly intertwined. In 1924, Kafka died at the age of 40. Before his death, he left his friend Max Brod a very unusual request. He wanted his unpublished manuscripts to be destroyed. The Trial, The Castle, and many other unfinished works. Kafka didn't want them published, but Max Brod refused. Instead, he preserved Kafka's manuscripts and eventually helped bring many of them to the world. And this leaves us with one impossible question. Did Max Brod betray Kafka, or did he save one of the most important literary voices of the 20th century? Kafka died more than a century ago, yet his stories somehow feel increasingly familiar. We live inside complicated systems. We fill out forms. We wait for decisions we don't understand. We communicate constantly, yet often feel disconnected. We can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. Kafka didn't predict the modern world in the literal sense, but he understood something about being human that hasn't changed. The feeling of being small inside something much larger than yourself. The feeling of searching for an answer while never knowing who has the answer. Maybe Kafka wasn't writing about the future. Maybe he was writing about us. Maybe that's why Kafka still feels so modern, not because he predicted our world, but because he understood our fears. The fear of not being understood, the fear of losing control, The fear of becoming a stranger in your own life. And perhaps that's the most Kafkaesque thing of all. We keep searching for the meaning of the story without ever knowing whether there was one.